if you have problems in your family, in your community, in your synagogue, in your school, whatever it is, you have to know that that means that there is a problem with the Torah that's being taught. Because the Torah is the cure to all ailments. It's the answer to all problems. If that's not the ideology in your household, if that's not the ideology in your school, in your synagogue, if you're celebrating the winning of a new president more than you're celebrating your average mitzvah, there's a problem. B'Shem Hashem Na'aseh V'Natzliach, Shiur Torah, Bruchim Habayim. We're back here on our Tuesday night War of Amalek series. A series that has held no punches, and Be'ezrat Hashem tonight will be another one. Tonight's shiur is going to be for the Refuah Shlema and Hatzlacha Rabba for Rabbi Ephraim ben Shulamit, Rabbanit Sarah bat Anat, Rabbanit Levana bat Sarah, Sarah bat Levana, Avi Mori David ben Esriya, Imi Morati Doris bat Joah, and all of Am Yisrael and all the righteous Noahis that continue to support our organization by donating, by helping us do all the amazing things that Baruch Hashem we're doing. Anyone that wants to donate can go to be'ezrathashem.org or bhtorah.org, and you can donate on our app. There's quite a few ways to do it. You could also go to the website and see the different options there on the donate page. Also, as a reminder, the AI Rabbi, Baruch Hashem, continues to get amazing feedback from people, and you're still welcome to subscribe. Anyone that subscribes this week will get one of these cool tumblers shipped to them, Be'ezrat Hashem. Usually it takes a couple of weeks to get it, but depending on where you are in the world. But the new subscribers are already been getting some of these, and some of them really appreciate it. So, Baruch Hashem. Also, some amazing news for those of you that want to help your community, for those of you that want to do kiruv and are always looking for a way, aside from giving the books, which I'm hoping that you've given, or the USBs, which I'm hoping that you've distributed. We now have our Asher Yitzar box. Asher Yitzar box that I've promised and I've discussed. It is now officially available on the Kiruv store. So you can get yourself a box that has 100 of them. Each one of these boxes has 100 cards. You don't have to worry about whether you're going to give it to Ashkenazi or Sephardi Jews, because each one of those 100 posters has both the Nusach Sephardi and Nusach Ashkenazi on opposite sides. It has the English translation, the Hebrew, as well as the English transliteration. So this is available on the store. You could order them, and Be'ezrat Hashem will be happy to send them to you. If you are outside of the U.S., then for us to ship it to you, you'll have to pay for the shipping, because it's simply too expensive just for us to keep up with the shipping costs of the U.S. We're talking about nearly $100,000 or more than $100,000 in costs just for America, $100,000. So it's quite expensive, but we're doing whatever we can. The fact that we're providing these boxes for free is already something that no one has ever done, and Be'ezrat Hashem we're happy to do. So with that being said, let's get into this series now. All of us have heard of mitzvot, the commandments that Hashem said, the commandments that Hashem commanded us to do. Some of them are mitzvot that you must do, positive mitzvah, and some of them are mitzvot that you're obligated to refrain from. You're prohibited from doing them, such as driving on Shabbat, such as eating pig, such as adultery, intermarriage, and so on. Now, mitzvot are a fantastic thing. People love to talk about mitzvot. But have you ever heard of the mitzvah of the Satan? Or, as you would say it in English, the Satan's mitzvah. Well, Rabotai Karim, the Satan's mitzvah is actually closer to home than you think. Because unlike what many people think when they hear the Satan's mitzvah, where they're thinking devil worship or Satanism, it's not that. Yet, the Satan is actually looking for people to do mitzvot that he will benefit from. And I'm talking about mitzvot from the Torah, that he wants people to do them because it'll benefit him, rather than benefit the person, rather than serve Hashem, it'll actually benefit him. Now, Rav Elchonon Wasserman's War of Amalek series has held no punches. And there's clear instructions of how to fight this war. And tonight, we're going to uncover another one of the ultimate strategies that most people are unaware of, because the strategy is the strategy of the Satan, and what he uses to get people to lose the war before it even starts. Some of you are going to be shocked that perhaps your local rabbi or some family member that you know may very well be an expert in making mitzvot for the sake of the Satan, and many times without even realizing it. Now, in last week's segment, the series, the Rav Elchonon Wasserman taught us that we need to publicize Torah. That's the ultimate weapon. We need to unite all of those that have fear of Hashem, all of those that have Yirat Shamayim, that are going to work together to help each other, publicize the truth, publicize the name of Hashem, because the power of the united group of Tzadikim is many folds more than the power of any individual one. But yet we see that despite having these instructions for decades, we're still failing. And Rav Wasserman wants to tell us one of the reasons why. מכל המבואר למעלה יוצא, כי עיקר העיקרים בעבודת ההתאגדות של יראים צריכה להיות ההשתדלות להפיץ לימוד התורה בישראל. Rav Wasserman says, after everything that we have covered, we've learned together, we've concluded that the ultimate weapon that those that have fear of the Almighty can use to win this war is to publicize Torah. Publicize Torah. But not just publicize Torah on your own, rather do it united. This is why he's referring to the united group of people that have fear of Hashem. Now, if a person thinks that they can win this war with small little steps, with small little segments, with small little efforts, then they're sadly mistaken. Because when you have watched the first 15 or so segments of this series and you start identifying one enemy after another, whether it's the Amalek, that's the Nazi Germany type of Amalek, or it's the Amalek that's Erev Rav, those that are anti-Torah but happen to be Jewish. Or it's the heretics, the ones that distort the Torah even if they have a beard and a hat and call themselves Rabbi. Or it's simply people that are criminals against the Torah in different ways. And last but not least, it's the enemy of ignorance, where the vast majority of the generation does not actually know the basics of the Torah. Most of the Torah that they are aware of is things that they have heard about as children's stories, but to relate that to their business life, marriage life, day-to-day life, they have no idea how. So when you have so many enemies, a person can't fight so many enemies with small weapons or with just one small weapon. You have to go to the ultimate weapon. It's the only way that a person is going to have the ability to unplug the ignorance, the mistaken and the distorted manipulations of the Torah that are already in people's mind. To give you an example of this, because I know that you guys love real-life examples. The new film, HAGANUZ, that we came out with just a few days ago, Baruch Hashem, has reached many people, and Bezrat Hashem will reach millions more. But every single person that has actually watched it has been shocked, enlightened, and affected in a very positive way. Certainly there are some people that just judge the book by the cover. They simply are so focused on hating me as an individual, as if I did anything to them, as if I even know they exist, that they just assume wrong, assume bad. But those that are the vast majority, and of course anyone that actually saw the film and saw the actual comments and feedback of those that are supporting versus the few that are against, sees that literally the ratio is 100 to 1, 100 being for and to 1 maybe once in a blue, making a lot of noise but being against. It's just that those few make a lot of noise. So it's like the Gemara says, it's a isteragina gishkishkaria. It's a small little coin being shaken in a pot makes a lot of noise. But in reality, it's still a little coin. But nonetheless, Rabotai, that film has helped a lot of people. That film has inspired a lot of people. One person has already told me that they are changing their business. Another person has told me that she's changing her Instagram page from what it was to being modest. People are literally being awakened by this film. Now, the first segment in the film talks about the horrors and the plague we have upon us, called the merchant cash advance business. And of course, some of these people have reached out to me. Some agree and are leaving the business. But there was one that reached out, and this is a person I've already spoken to before. And I realized that this person has a very serious klipa. I just didn't realize how serious how thick this klipa is until the last couple of days. With this Rasha Merusha that's stealing money from people in his cash advance business and making a fortune doing it, of course he defends his ideology, defends his corrupt and predatory business practices, and one of the ways that he defended it is simply that he gives a lot of tzedakah. He gives a lot of tzedakah. He said, you should see the tzedakah that I give. And before I even had the opportunity to ask, who is the unlucky fellow that is getting this tzedakah from you? He already volunteered his information. He goes, yeah, I'm giving this to this revolutionary rabbi that is teaching everything the opposite of what you say. And he names one of the heretics we've already gone against in recent years and have exposed how literally all of Gdolei Israel agree that he's a heretic. But this also shows us that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is very, very careful with where people's tzedakah money actually go to. You have to have merit to give tzedakah to the right place. And as I've told people countless times, if you're giving tzedakah to our organization, at least maaser, significant amount of money on a regular basis for an extended period of time and not seeing miracles, there's something wrong with us, stop giving. Don't give us anymore. There's something wrong with us. Why? Because tzedakah is one of those things that you also get a reward for it in this world when it's going to the right place, like kiruv. On the other hand, if you're giving a lot of tzedakah and not seeing anything, perhaps even seeing the opposite, then there's something wrong with the organization. Perhaps there's something wrong with you as well. But this particular guy showed us exactly how that works. Why? He is a corrupt predator that is destroying people's lives, and he's giving his money to another predator that is destroying people's lives. Because Hashem will never allow such a person to give money to a legitimate organization, to someone that's actually helping people. The corrupt go to the corrupt, just like the Gemara says, the raven found the crow. The raven found the crow. Why? They're alike. They found the similar species. So, when a person hears what was said in the film, at the very least you would expect them to have feedback like, oh, maybe I should question myself, maybe this, but no. Not only does he up the ante, continue to defend his corrupt practices, but he even says that he's supporting Darwin and the evolutionary theory and all types of other heretical beliefs, which you see that this person is obviously corrupt in such a way that until HaKadosh Baruch Hu destroys him and brings him down to his knees, he's not going to realize how much falsehood he has in his life. So the point being is, Rabotai, is that there's so much falsehood out there. There's so much Amalek out there. There's so much heresy out there. There's so much Erev Rav out there to try to fight these wars with small little things that people do. It's simply not going to work. And in fact, the Chofetz Chaim, alav shalom, had a gathering over 100 years ago where Rav Elchonon Wasserman, alongside the Rav Miponovich, and several other Gdolei Israel, came to hear the Kohen Gadol's speech. What does he have to say? How can he guide us? And the Chofetz Chaim tells them, before Moshiach arrives, there will be an enormous darkness. Before Moshiach arrives, there will be an enormous darkness, just like it was in Egypt. Here he's not just talking about a physical darkness, he's talking about the spiritual darkness. As the prophet Isaiah says in chapter 60, verse 2, Kina choshech yichaseh eretz ve'arafeh leumim ve'alayich yizrach Hashem ukvodo alayich yireh. For behold, darkness may cover the earth, and a thick cloud may cover the kingdoms. But upon you Hashem will shine, and His glory will be seen upon you. Says the Chofetz Chaim, we know that HaKadosh Baruch Hu already told the prophet to let us know that before the Goel, the Moshiach, arrives, there will be darkness. But at some point, the light of Hashem will come upon you. But how do we survive until that happens, asked the Chofetz Chaim. How are we going to be able to walk in the darkness until the light of Hashem shines on us? The answer, says the Chofetz Chaim, a small light can overcome big darkness. Just as it says in Proverbs chapter 6, verse 23, Shlomo HaMelech tells us, Ki ner mitzvah betorat or, v'derech chaim tochachot musar. For the mitzvah, for the commandment, is a lamp, and the Torah is light. And reproving musar is the way of life. Here, the wisest of all men, Shlomo HaMelech, tells us, if you're looking for light because you have darkness in your life, darkness in your community, darkness in your marriage, that's because you're lacking the ultimate light. You're lacking Torah. And the Kohen Gadol, the Chofetz Chaim, tells us, before Mashiach arrives, there's going to be extraordinary darkness, similar to what it was in Egypt, both on the spiritual and the physical end. And how are we going to survive this darkness? We have to listen to the words of our Torah that tells us all we need is a little bit of light of Torah in order to get the darkness to go away. We must connect the mitzvot of the Torah to the Torah itself through musar, and that's going to bring light. That's what Shlomo HaMelech is telling us. Yes, you have a mitzvah. You have a Torah. People know the mitzvah of Chanukah, lighting the lamp, the customs of eating sufganiyot, latkes. But if you're only focusing on the customs, then how did you connect that to the Torah? If you're only focusing on eating chulent on Shabbat, how did you connect that to the Torah? If you're only focusing on the mitzvah itself without connecting it to the Torah, you're not creating light, you're not taking advantage. And that's where musar comes in. That's where discipline comes in. Character development comes in. And thereby says the Chofetz Chaim, darkness is not chased away with sticks. Darkness is chased away by light, by publicizing as much Torah truth as possible. United kiruv, united outreach by those that fear Hashem. And therefore, Rabbi Elchonon Wasserman continues and says, we have these instructions. They're clear as day. But what do we have in our world today, he says, and if it's in his day, 80 years ago, needless to say today, what do we see today instead of what's instructed by Gdolei Israel? We see the fulfillment of what the Gemara says in Masechet Bava Kama, page 52a, where the Gemara talks about a shepherd. And every shepherd has a flock. And sometimes you're going to have a goat that's more brazen than the rest of the goats, more confident than the rest of the goats. He's going to choose to lead. But the Gemara says, a teachings that a certain speaker from Galilee told Rav Chisda, when the shepherd is angry with his flock, he blinds the leading goat. Now, why would the shepherd blind his own goat? He's angry. And what happens is, Rabotai, when the leading goat has lost his vision, has lost his ability to see, when the leading goat has become blind, he doesn't stop walking. He doesn't stop going. He continues to go. And the flock follows him. And as he hits different ditches and different pits, the entire flock follows him. So too, says Rashi, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu wishes to punish his flock, he causes the appointment of unqualified leaders who make catastrophic decisions for the people. Here, Rabbi Elchonon Wasserman brings us the Gemara that tells us what you see in the world is not a surprise. In fact, what you see in the world is Hashem's fulfillment of what he told us will happen if we do not go in the right path. The shepherd blinded the goats that were leading. And what ends up happening is you have blind leaders, sometimes by choice, sometimes not by choice. You can decide if it's by choice or not by simply looking at how this war is being managed in Israel. Literally every 5-year-old that has played with soldiers, toy soldiers, knows that what the government is doing literally is endangering its own soldiers. The Israeli government, instead of using its weapons properly, using its soldiers properly, what do? They send their young, poor soldiers into buildings known to be full of terrorists that are not exactly happy to see anyone, instead of just destroying the building. And I'm not even talking about what's happening in Gaza. I'm talking about in Lebanon. talking about in other countries we're in war with, instead of literally destroying the enemy, they're sending our people, our kids, your kids, HaKadosh Baruch Hu's kids, into buildings literally to be slaughtered. Like sheep. One of the big rabbis lost his son exactly that way in the last few months. And many other people have lost their sons in the last year because of the mismanagement of resources, because of blind leaders. At this point, everyone agrees that blind leadership was behind the failure of October 7th. Blind leadership is the reason why this war still continues a year after the fact. Blind leadership is the reason why there's so many issues. But this is not because of the leaders per se, but rather because HaKadosh Baruch Hu is punishing us, giving us blind leaders. Every 5-year-old knows that you're not supposed to send your soldiers to harm's way. He wouldn't send his toy soldiers to harm's way. He tried to figure out a better way, even though they're toys. Well, these Jewish boys are not toys, but they're being sent to harm's way on a regular basis. Thousands and thousands of them have been maimed, lost the ability to walk, to hold something, to reproduce. Shem Yachem, the stories are literally worse and worse every day. A war that should have been finished in 48 hours continues a year later and just gets worse by the day. They're spending all of their resources and efforts fighting the Torah, fighting the religious world, blaming the religious world for everything that has nothing to do with them. We need more soldiers. We need more soldiers like we need more wars. There are so many soldiers in the Israeli army that there's not enough resources for all of them to have weapons and even boots. But yet, they want to arrest thousands of religious Jews because they didn't join the army. Instead of focusing their efforts and resources to actually fight the war in a normal way, they're fighting their own people. This is one of the punishments that's happening to our generation. This is part of the darkness. Now, why is this happening? Why is this happening, Abutai? Why are we given these blind leaders in politics? Says Rav Elchonon Wasserman, it's because the religious ones, the rabbis, the board members of yeshivas and synagogues, the community leaders, also have been acting blind. Sometimes on purpose, sometimes not. How so? Because they turned the most important into the least important, and the least important into the most important, by using their efforts, the community efforts, the community resources, the community's time, to use the tools of the mitzvah, and yet do not ever get to the actual mitzvah. What does this mean? Rav Wasserman says, there's no problem if you want to have a Hanukkah party in a few weeks at your shul. As long as it's a kosher party, there's no mixed dancing and inappropriate and immoral behavior, there's no problem. There's no problem of having a Purim party. There's no problem of having a challah party. There's no problem with those things. As long as everything is kosher, there's no problem. The problem is that those types of events a Hanukkah party, of the baking of challah party, of the distributing all types of food to the poor party, or gathering, or the shopping that people do in their everybody brings their business to buy and sell different things in the shul. All of these things have very little meaning in comparison to any mitzvah in the Torah. Eating a sufganiyah, a donut, is not a mitzvah from the Torah. It's a custom. But yet these things have somehow turned into the focus in countless communities around the world. The focus is who can have the best event for kids, the best circus, so the kids can jump all the way to the sky, the best horse and carriage, the best tournament of some kind, the best football team or some other team to compete, the best baker of challah or sufganiyot or something else. Who can give the best review of secular books? These things have turned into the priority. The costume parties, the shidduchim parties. These have turned into the ikar, into the primary, into the most important. Instead of a shiur Torah like this that's going to tell people they must do tshuva. A shiur Torah that's going to tell people they're not allowed to drive on Shabbat. A shiur Torah that's going to tell people that wasting seed, adultery, immorality, immodesty, all of those things will eliminate your ability to go to heaven ever. If you don't do tshuva, they're ruining your life here and eternally. A shiur Torah that's going to tell people the truth of what HaKadosh Baruch Hu said. Now, if you tell this to the rabbis, listen, Rabbi, I get it. You just got the community or somebody to sponsor or technically waste $15,000, $20,000, $30,000 getting this, this party together. I get it. When are they going to learn Torah? No. Listen, these parties, it's because we're mekarev them. Okay, you're mekarev them. You brought the singer all the way from Israel to sing so everybody could get together. I got it. Fine. Nothing against it. Question is, when does the Torah part start? No, we do it slowly. Okay, slowly. So wait, so after he finishes performing, then you do it? Or you do it where the next day there's like a seminar? When is that? No, not exactly after, because everybody's going to be tired. Oh, okay, so everybody's going to be tired after the performance or after the circus or after the sufganiyot. They're going to be tired because they just gained 10 pounds just eating donuts. I get it, fine. So the next day, there's like a big shiur Torah telling them that stop driving on Shabbat, stop wasting seed, stop cheating on your wife or your husband, stop, lying to the government. Is that when it starts? No. We're not going to talk about that. Oh, okay. So you mean, okay, so not the next day, because maybe they're tired still. So maybe the Shabbat, since, most people are coming on Shabbat and some of them are driving on Shabbat, which is obviously not allowed. Then the rabbi is going to take advantage of the opportunity and tell everybody, oh, I'm glad everybody had a good time at the most recent party, the most recent event, or whatever it is. Now it's time for Torah. Let me remind everyone who is perhaps not aware and drove here today on Shabbat, you're not allowed to drive on Shabbat. Is that so hard? No, Rabbi, we don't do that at our shul. What do you mean you don't do that at your shul? What do you do? What do you do at your shul? What do you do at your yeshiva? How come not a single bachur in your yeshiva learned anything about wasting seed until he already became addicted, became a victim of society, and had to come to me so I could take him out of Gaon? Because it's the only available material in the English language. How come you didn't teach him? No, we don't teach it in our community. Well, are you better than Arav Aaron Kotler, alav shalom, who says that you have to teach this in public? Are you better than Rabbi Aaron Rata, who wrote a book about it? Are you better than Gedolei Israel that mentioned it on a regular basis? How come? So what is it that you teach? What is it that you do for your community, Mr. Rabbi? What is it that you do for your community, Mr. Board Member, Mr. Community Leader, like this poor rabbi that unfortunately told me that after building a community, 15 years, he's slaving for this community, slaving for them, without even collecting a salary. 15 years, there's a shul, there's a school, there's a kollel, Baruch Hashem. These clueless board members decide to bring up another guy on the team of board members, as if one of them is even allowed to be on there. The only person that's allowed to be on the board is the rabbi himself. But not only they bring somebody, but they bring an avaryan. Do you guys know what an avaryan is? The literal translation to it is a criminal. A criminal. What's a criminal in the Jewish religion? Someone that's intermarried. Someone that's a mechalel Shabbat. Such a person is not allowed to be on a board of any synagogue or any Jewish institution. In fact, he's not even allowed to be a witness in a Jewish ceremony. In fact, you're not even allowed to count him in a minyan. There was one time a shul that I used to attend, and I've told those of you that have been watching my shulim for the last 10 years, there was a shul that literally had an avaryan, a criminal that was intermarried, yet was reading the Torah on behalf of the community every Shabbat. And when I brought this to the attention of the rabbis, what were they worried about? Listen, if we tell him, he'll get embarrassed. Let him be embarrassed. What do you mean? He should be embarrassed of himself that he's married to a non-Jew. What do you mean? And he wants to be a chazan? He wants to read from the Torah? He's not allowed to listen to him. He's an avaryan. Literally 4 months arguing with the rabbis until they finally took a step. And guess what? As soon as I left the community, they put him back. Because they're a Chaim just like him. But these types of things happen. Where sometimes there are good rabbis with criminal boards, criminal leaders that are pushing the rabbis against the wall where they can't do anything. And sometimes the rabbis, the chief criminal officer, CCO. So when you tell people, listen, many people are driving on Shabbat in this community. Many people are in the cash advance in this community. That's against the Torah. Many people do not know how to read Hebrew in this community. Many people do not know how to pray in this community. Many people do not learn Torah at all in this community. Many people are doing all types of things that are against the laws of morality as well as the laws of Torah in this community. Maybe the rabbi could perhaps teach us about morality, teach us some musar. No, we can't really do that. We go slowly. 30 years he's been a rabbi in a community and everyone is still mechalel Shabbat for the most part, stealing in their business for the most part, cheating on their wives or husbands for the most part, continuing to be criminals. But they have a rabbi and they donate tons and tons of money every year and they have not a building, they have a neighborhood. Why? Blind leaders, blind sheep, sometimes lead the entire flock off the cliff. And the reality is, Rabotai Karim, as Rabbi Ephraim says, instead of getting directly to the mitzvah of giving people a shiur Torah with musar, so people can do tshuva, these leaders that are blind use every single effort to the point of exhaustion on parties for Chanukah and Purim and all types of other activities and have all of the excuses why they never actually teach the type of Torah that's going to help their community do tshuva. They'll tell you slowly, slowly we do it. We don't do it like you right away. We take it slowly, but yet you've been a rabbi here for 20 years and these people are still violating Shabbat. No, but if we teach them not to drive on Shabbat, they won't come anymore. All types of excuses. These types of excuses, Rabotai, are the reasons why many communities have leaders, as they call themselves board of directors, that are avaryanim, that are criminals, that are not allowed to be on the board, that are not allowed to be part of a minyan, but yet they're leading the community. They're telling the rabbi what to do. One of the most frustrating things in the world is when a clueless person gives an expert advice. This type of slowly behavior, people won't come, this type of blind sheep mentality by the rabbis, by the leaders of the Jewish communities, says Rav Elchonon Wasserman, reminds him of the parable that was mentioned at the beginning of a sefer called Chayei Adam. Chayei Adam was written about 200 years ago by a Chacham named Rabbi Avraham Denzig. He was also a businessman, a merchant, but he was Talmid Chacham, and he gathered together all of the mitzvot that have to do with the day-to-day of the average Jew. And the book became very popular to this day. In the beginning of this book, the Chayei Adam says, there was once a person that wanted to get some new clothes. He needed clothes. But instead of going to the clothing store and buying clothes, he said, let me just sew the clothes myself. Okay, there's no problem with doing things on your own. I know it's even a thing these days, do it yourself, DIY, or I think it's called. No problem, go. No, I don't know how to sew. Oh, so wait, you want to make yourself clothes, but you don't know how to make clothes? No. Okay, so maybe you should go buy clothes? No, I'm going to learn. What are you going to do until you learn? No, I'm going to learn right away. Okay, fine, no problem. A week later, you see the guy still walking around with ripped clothes. What's happening? Listen, this whole week I spent learning the foundation. What's the foundation? Well, clothes, in order to make clothes, you need to have a needle. So you looked at needles for a week? No, I studied the needles. What do you mean you studied the needles? Well, I wanted to know not just the needle, I wanted to know, where does the needle come from? So I spent this whole week researching it, and I realized this is coming from metal. And then next week, I'm leaving on a trip to Mongolia. Why? Because over there they have mines, and they bring metal out of the ground. Huh? Yeah. So the guy goes and spends his entire life learning about the needle, says Rav Denzig, until he dies, still without clothes. This is the same as us, says Rav Elchonon Wasserman. The same thing is being done now, where leaders are using all the efforts. The community, the people, are using all of the efforts, all of the resources, to the point of exhaustion on the least important matters, leaving the generation naked of Torah. And the Yetzer Hara catches the leaders in this. And while there are those that yell out, hey, stop the thief! Ganav, thief! The Yetzer Hara, the Satan, is so clever that he gets in between the masses. He goes next to the leaders. He goes among the bachurim. He goes among the community, among the board of directors. And he also starts screaming, Ganav, Ganav, as if it's not him. He's pointing somewhere else, Ganav, Ganav. And everyone follows, yeah, Ganav, he's the thief, is over there. And they're all yelling at some aimless direction, catch the thief. In reality, the Yetzer Hara, the Satan, has caught them, has confused them. Indeed, Rabotai Karim, the teachings of real Torah are not only paramount to an individual's development, they're paramount to a community. And instead of teaching real Torah that's going to help people change, that's going to help people serve Hashem, be better people, be better husbands or wives, be better children, be better students, be better rabbis. Instead of teaching real Torah, the Satan has convinced the majority of people to spend their resources on food events. And instead of helping the community gain more merits, the leaders only help them gain more sins and calories. And Rabbi Elchonon Wasserman says, this is how the Yetzer Hara is playing with us. By giving us his ideas of how to fight the Yetzer Hara. The Satan is giving us the idea of how to fight the Satan. By giving us all types of strategies, creative ones, in order to bring people to the shul, bring people to the school, bring people to the event. Bring a singer, bring a performer, bring food, bring different variety of food, bring business speakers, everything except bring Torah. Don't bring a shiur Torah. And that's what the Satan is doing to us, says Rabbi Elchonon Wasserman. Using all possible strategies except teaching Torah. Since he knows that the Torah is like hot coal on his head. One of the ways that this will easily ring a bell in some of your minds, the Satan fools people into one of his mitzvot, is by having somebody in the community, whether it be the rabbi or somebody else, tell people, listen, you want to do a rare mitzvah? A rare mitzvah? Yeah. Something like amazing. Something only few people ever do in their life. Okay, fine, sure, why not? I'm Jewish, I like mitzvahs, sure. Okay, there's a mitzvah that's really rare. It's called the redemption of the firstborn. The pidyon peter chamor, the redemption of the donkey for a lamb or a kid, and giving it to the Kohen. Okay, sure, but how do I do this? Let's go to Eilat. We'll get a group of us. We'll rent a bus. And over there, I already have the setup where we'll be able to fulfill this mitzvah of pidyon peter chamor. So this so-called leader convinces 30, 40, 50, 60 people to go on a bus, spend 7 hours each way to go fulfill a mitzvah that takes 5 minutes but wastes 14 hours. Other times I'll tell you, listen, you want to make a real rare mitzvah? Something that will touch your neshama? Sure. Let's go visit the Tzadikim that died 80 years ago, 100 years ago, 400 years ago. Okay, sure. Where do we have to go? Is you're driving or I'm driving? No. We have to fly. We have to fly to Poland. We have to fly to, to Morocco. We have to fly to wherever it is, some end of the world place. Yeah, but we have tzadikim here. Why don't we just go to them? No. You want to go over there where you're going to spend 10, 15 hours on a plane each way, spend a fortune of money on tickets, on hotel, on food, and hopefully it's even kosher. And spend a few days, spend a few weeks, and feel like $1 million. Feel like you're a tzaddik. Why? Because you went and you prayed at a grave that cost you 2 weeks of your life. What about using those 2 weeks to learn Torah? Take off of work, take off of everything, and go to the Bet Midrash and learn for 2 weeks. And use that money that you're going to spend going to a bus, to a lot, going to some other trip. Use that money to go help the world of Torah. Help the community do tshuva. But the reality is, Rabotai, that people are much more inclined to go and spend $5,000, $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 on these types of so-called rare mitzvahs than they ever are to go in supporting Torah. Why? Because these mitzvahs are being motivated and inspired by the Satan. Even though the mitzvah is from the Torah, and if you do it, chazak u'baruch, you'll get rewarded for the mitzvah. But the cost of that mitzvah, the amount of time and resources that you had to exhaust in order to fulfill that mitzvah, surely was not ideal. And only the Satan will inspire you to do such a thing. Because you could have done 1 million more mitzvot by simply learning Torah with that time. By simply supporting Torah with those resources. And that's why it's a mitzvah from the Satan. And says Rav Elchonon Wasserman is that the communities today are full of this. Full of mitzvot from the Satan. And the worst part of it all is that the Satan is so clever that since this mitzvah is rare, since the Chanukah event was a success, the costume party of Purim was a success, the circus brought to the community was a success, a lot of people came. The music event was a success because a lot of people came. He makes those that are behind it feel righteous. Ooh, so righteous, so pure. A mizakeh rabim. He's already the master of kiruv, he feels. Look how many people I brought together. Yeah, the Satan helped you, of course. Did any of them make a mitzvah? Did any of them become closer to Hashem as a result? Absolutely not. Why? Because Satan is behind all of it. The Satan is behind all of it. But yet the Satan also gives people the illusion of feeling like they are tzadikim. And Shlomo Amalek says in the book of Proverbs, chapter 25, verse 21, if your hater is hungry, feed him bread. And if he is thirsty, give him water to drink. For you will be scooping coals to heap on his head, and Hashem will reward you. The Gaon Vilna says on this verse, Shlomo Amalek is talking about your hater. Your hater being hungry, feed him bread. Lechem. Lechem also comes from the same root as the word milchama, war. Your hater wants to go to war with you. He's thirsty. Give him water. You want to fight against your hater? Give him water. What's water? Water is Torah. And if you fight him with Torah, if you learn more Torah, if you support more Torah, then guess what? You're going to be able to fulfill what our sages taught us in the Gemara in Masechet Succah, page 52. You'll be able to destroy the Satan. It's like putting coal on his head. Because if the despicable one, the Satan, tries to attack you and convince you not to learn Torah, not to teach Torah, not to attend the Shiur Torah, not to support the Torah, Do as the sages said in the Gemara in Masechet Sukkah, page 52b, that says, pull him to the Bet Midrash. Pull him to come learn Torah. Because even if you don't feel like doing it, in fact, even if you're doing it for the wrong reason, it's still going to work to help you remove yourself from your attachment to the Satan and his mitzvot. And over time, your reason for learning Torah will become more pure. As the Gemara in Masechet Pesachim, page 58, promises. Now, these types of words are best shown by actual examples. 22 years ago, Rabbi Chaim was invited to a wedding of a very, very rich family, and one of the people that invited him showed him around how beautiful the wedding. It was a very expensive wedding. Told him, see these flowers that's on the chair next to the kala and everything? Yeah, just those flowers were 16,000 shekels, about $5,000. Of course, Rabbi Chaim didn't come from a rich family. He just thought of how shameful it is to spend so much money on flowers that are just going to be used for a few hours, maybe even just a few minutes for a picture. You can use that money to feed many poor people. But people do this all the time. There was even a famous story of a wealthy family that wanted to have the wedding of all weddings for their son. And this wedding was literally millions of dollars. People from all over the world were invited and coming. And the father who set up the whole thing, the event, he was showing people all the different glamorous things. This expensive, that expensive, the chandelier, the food, there's all types of things. But before you know it, among a lot of people, you realize he doesn't see his son anywhere. He starts looking for his son, the chatan, the groom. Can't find him. He goes to the family of the kala, the bride. Says, do you see my son anywhere? They told him, no. You're not going to believe it. We've been looking for our daughter. She's also gone. And the both families are in a panic. This multi-million-dollar wedding, 1,000 people. They can't find the chatan and kala. They're looking. They call the police. After an hour of searching, they finally find the bride and the groom, the chatan and kala, sitting on some bench in a park down the street. The father comes to his son. He says, why? Why'd you do that for? Why'd you disappear? And the chatan says to his father, listen, we saw the wedding, the glamour, the beauty, the people, everything that you were showing off to people. And we realized that the wedding has nothing to do with us. So we just left. Rabotai Karim. Sometimes a person could be doing a mitzvah that the Satan will make him believe that this is a mitzvah that Hashem wants him to do. But in reality, the mitzvah has nothing to do with Hashem. Has nothing to do with the Torah. It's just simply to serve his own purpose. He gives the friendly shiur that talks about Shlom Bayit every week just because it brings the best and the most crowd. He brings the shiur about raising children or about other neutral topics. He'll even talk to you about business. He'll talk to you about the markets. He'll talk to you about the politics. He'll even give you a few sources from the secular world. Because he's more interested in the feedback than he is in the neshamot and helping them. But if you ask him, he thinks he's a great leader. He thinks he's helping people. In fact, even if you ask the people, what do you think of this leader of yours? Oh, he's the best rabbi ever. Well, if he's the best rabbi ever, how come you're still driving on Shabbat? How come you're still stealing in your business? How come you're still not modest? If he's the best rabbi in the world, you've been here for 20 years. How come you're still the same? No, he connects me to Judaism. Which version of it? There's only one truth. You're not connected to it, so which one are you connected to? Because apparently there's a confusion here. And this is the false world we live in, where they're blind leaders leading the flock off the cliff. But along the way, the leader sings and the flock repeats. And the damage gets worse. The Gemara in Masechet Pesachim, page 49b, says that the hatred that Amei Aratzot, people that are ignorant of Torah, have against Torah scholars is greater than the hatred of anti-Semitism. Those people that are marching, declaring their hate of Jews in the middle of Broadway, in the middle of Los Angeles, in the middle of all over the world at this point, unfortunately, hate Jews, declare their hate. But the ignorant people that are Jews hate Torah scholars even more than that anti-Semitism. And in fact, the Gemara says that someone that used to learn Torah, a bachur went to yeshiva, learned for a few years, maybe even became an avrech, and then something happened. He decided to stop. Something happened and turned him off. Whatever excuse people use to fulfill their desires and calm their conscience at the same time. And he decided that he's going to abandon the way of Torah and he's going to go off the derech, off the path, become secular. And you see that those people that used to be religious, when they become secular, they become more secular than the most secular person in the world. The average secular Jew, overall, respects the Torah, respects the religious people, doesn't hate it. Some certainly hate it. But the one that used to be religious, they despise it. And the Gemara says those people that used to be religious and now have become secular, they hate the Torah scholars more than everybody else. Their hate is greater than everybody else. Their hate of Torah scholars is greater than the hate that Hitler had to the Jews. Why? Because the Gemara tells us that as a person grows in Torah, learns more Torah, the Yetzirah, the evil inclination with him also grows, but he has the tools to fight him. The Yetzirah of a bachur in yeshiva may seem like it's bigger than the world, but in reality it's nothing in comparison to the Yetzirah of Rav Ovadia, even though you're never going to see Rav Ovadia sin, because he had the tools, he had the Torah to fight the Yetzirah. But nonetheless, when a person grows in Torah, he has the tools to fight the Satan. But if he abandons the Torah, then what ends up happening is that he not only no longer has the tools to fight the Satan, from convincing him to do a blog against the Torah, do a podcast against the Torah, write a book against the Torah, protest against the Torah, be an enemy of the Torah publicly. He doesn't have the tools to fight it anymore. In fact, his Yetzer Hara stays big. It's the Yetzer Hara of a Torah scholar. It's an enormous evil inclination. And that's why those that go off the derech hate the Torah scholars more than everybody else. Because the Satan is now punishing them for torturing him all those years that they learned Torah. Because each time they learn Torah, it's like putting coals on his head. And the Gemara says, if he was metal, your Torah would melt him. If he was stone, your Torah learning will make him explode and crumble to nothing. But now that you've abandoned the Torah, then what ends up happening is that the Yetzer Hara now is a big one. And he now takes revenge against the guy that used to be religious, putting him in a situation where he now, instead of desiring to learn more Torah, instead of desiring to do more mitzvot, he now desires to destroy it. Sometimes, that person that's off the derech is actually a leader that maintains the image of a religious leader, but is a heretic according to all accounts, telling people things that are against the Torah on a regular basis, changing the Torah, changing the face of the Torah, where the Torah becomes an axe for him to destroy what he wants to destroy, cut whatever he wants to cut, build whatever he wants to build, no connection whatsoever to the real Torah. And this type of blind leader is leading some communities in the world. This type of blind leader may very well be part of the community that you're in. Elchonon Wasserman says, these blind leaders didn't come from nothing. Whether it's the blind leaders in politics or the blind leaders in the synagogue, they didn't come from nothing. They came from the fact that we have stopped teaching the most important as the most important and replaced it with the least important and turned that into the most important. We made the parties and the community affairs the priority of the community instead of the Torah and the learning of Torah as the priority. So when we have issues in our backyards, we know what the solution is. Simply replace the engine that is fueling this war against God, that is fueling the engine of the Satan, that is literally navigating people, yet screaming in the different direction. That's the thief, as if he's not it. If you have problems in your family, in your community, in your synagogue, in your school, whatever it is, you have to know that that means that there is a problem with the Torah that's being taught. Because the Torah is the cure to all ailments. It's the answer to all problems. If that's not the ideology in your household, if that's not the ideology in your school, in your synagogue, if you're celebrating the winning of a new president more than you're celebrating your average mitzvah, there's a problem. If you're celebrating the non-Jewish affairs, non-Jewish holidays, more than you're celebrating Shabbat or any Yom Tov, that's a problem. That means there's a lacking of Torah. But what ends up happening, Rabotai, is that the Yetzer Hara, the Satan, convinces people to do all types of things to make themselves feel righteous. Like this criminal from the cash advance business that contacted me and told me that he's very proud of his predatory business because he's able to support some thinker of the generation, he thinks. But in reality, it's a famous heretic. He thinks he's doing a mitzvah. In reality, all he's doing is digging himself a bigger grave. But that was actually good news because it assured me that both he and the heretic are both destined to fail massively. And there'll be a big Kiddush Hashem as a result of it. They're both hurting society. And now Hashem made them a match. And Hashem brings those people together, brings them to the top before he destroys them, like Haman. The Yetzer Hara is going to convince you that this problem is not in your backyard. The Yetzer Hara is going to convince you that this problem is not so close to you. It's somewhere else. But if you're listening to this, that's because HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants you to listen to it. Because it's not just a problem that your friend has in his community or her community. It's a problem that HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants you to take care of for you. And you have to fix it also. Now some people are going to say, no, I don't think you're right. Everything else you're right about except that one, Rabbi. And then they're surprised that they have problems. You people go to the doctor, and many times it's a waste of time and money because they're not willing to listen to the advice of the doctor. It's like somebody goes to a doctor and says, I feel a lot of pain. The doctor checks him. Okay, here are these, take these pills. This red pill will make the pain go away. This white pill is going to make the numbing go away. This yellow pill is going to make the rash go away. All right, great. Come see me next month. A month passes. Patient's back. So, I see the rash didn't go away, but how are you doing otherwise? Oh, terrible, Rabbi. Terrible, doc. I don't know how you're a doctor. Oh, okay. Well, listen, okay. Sorry you feel that way, but did you do what I said? Yeah. No, I did what you said. Why? I came here. No. I mean the medicine that I gave you. Well, listen, doc. I'm a smart guy. I don't just take people's word for it. So I looked up some of these medicines you gave. And I don't know, I wasn't really so impressed. Wasn't so impressed by what you prescribed me. I looked it up on the internet. This one can potentially give a side effect of a stomach ache. And that one can give a side effect of this. And that one can give a side effect of that. So, you know what? I just figured, I know better. I did something else. I took something else. What'd you take? Did you go to a different doctor? No, I figured I already know. I know. Okay, so what'd you take? Well, you gave me a red pill, a white pill, and a yellow pill. So I took a red Mento candy, a white Mento candy, and a yellow Mento candy. And I ate them. And you know what? Tasted delicious. It was great. What? So you took candy and you replaced the medicine? Yeah, what's the problem? He said, okay. Next time, instead of coming to me, go to a psychiatrist. Because you're an idiot. Rabotai Karim, sometimes the spiritual doctors, as the Rambam calls them, give us advice that perhaps is a little bit bitter. Perhaps it's not what we wanted to hear. Perhaps it's not what we hope to hear. But it's still what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants us to know. It's still what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants us to do something about. Rav Elchonon Wasserman gave us this guidance, gave us this blueprint, gave us this strategy session in order to fight and win the war of Amalek. We've learned quite a few different things in this series, but tonight we learned something that is closer to home than perhaps anything else, because this affects every single community and every single household to a certain extent. Some more, some less. Be'ezrat Hashem, we will have the merit to apply all of these teachings to our own lives, to our own families, to our own communities, with such zeal and excitement that others will be inspired by it. In fact, with such strength, the Satan, who's been navigating the ship in so many places for so long, will feel the pain of the new Torah on his head that he won't even come back anymore. Thank you very much for learning with me. May Hashem bless each and every single one of you with success to implement all of these teachings to your lives and your communities. Anyone that wants to donate and support, you could donate cryptocurrency as well as the traditional donations on our website, be'ezrathashem.org. On the donate page over there, there's different options, whether you want to send a check or wire or credit card or cryptocurrency, and in fact, even stock, which is something that takes several weeks for the stock parts. If you want to do it before the year is over for tax purposes, I suggest you start ASAP. Either way, Rabotai, there's a lot to do, there's a lot to learn, and there's a lot, Be'ezrat Hashem, to help. Tomorrow, there's not going to be a shiur. I have to take care of some family business, but Be'ezrat Hashem, we'll go back to learning together next week. But take advantage of the offer of getting one of these boxes into your community. Because, of course, we listen to the sages not only about mitzvot, but also about the strategy. So aside from giving everyone an opportunity to do kiruv and do a mitzvah by giving them one of these amazing posters that look just like this, very good quality plastic, Ashkenazi, Sephardi, but we have a little bit of a secret weapon in each and every one of them. Anyone that wants to support kiruv will have an opportunity by scanning this QR code. Anyone that wants to get inspired will also have another QR code where they can watch a shiur Torah. Either way, the goal of this, Rabotai, is to help Am Yisrael do more mitzvot and to learn more Torah. And by combining the mitzvot of the Torah with the learning of the Torah, we can win this war against Amalek. And Be'ezrat Hashem, we will. Call to bracha v'atzlacha, and Be'ezrat Hashem will learn again next week.
I tried to warn them. They didn't want to listen.
One of the things that I've been speaking against over the last several years is cash advance, lending money with high interest.
Some of those rates legally are as high as 1,900% a year.
People are not searching for the truth. What are they searching for? Quick way out of my problems.
One of the things that the Talmud teaches us, simply how to behave. Social media is discussed extensively in the Torah, in the oral Torah, in the written Torah, in halacha. God wanted to give you a chance to follow the Torah. You decided to go against. You desecrated His name. The amount of punishment and suffering you're going to get is literally going to be endless.
Every single second, you stay friends with your old Christian friends, with your old missionary friends, with your old atheist friends, with your old friends that are anti-Torah, is a life risk. You have to get rid of a lot of the stuff that triggers you. If you want to progress, that means you have to abandon the past.
By being modest in behavior, in clothing, makes the person a vessel that is able to accept a certain amount of holiness in the world.
Pornography is no less addictive than the hardest drugs in the world.
Experts say there's another pandemic. Children exposed to pornography on the devices we give them.
Torah says after you make the same sin twice, Yetzirah tells you it's allowed.
Here we see that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not just a fairy tale that sometimes people would like for him to be. The majority choose to be evil. Before the Moshiach arrives. Today they look like they're a millionaire. Today they look like they're living large. Look around the corner and they're gone.
I tried to warn them, but they didn't want to listen.